Good morning. Welcome my dear students. Today I am going to explain you chapter 8 of your Hornbill, and the name of the chapter is Silk Road. It is written by Nick Middleton. Before explanation of this chapter, I am giving you chapter sketch about the characters, summary and value points. So let me start. Before starting the chapter, I am just explaining you what is Silk Road. Silk Road, this is a trade route. The article has been rightly titled Silk Road, and this is trade route. Narrator was leaving Rabo for Mount Kailash, and the narrator has given the description of his journey. This chapter is part of travelogue about the author's travel along the ancient trade route called Silk Road, regions as they are now. This account of the Silk Road, with its contrast, exotic details, describes the challenges, hardships, difficulties the author faced while journeying to Mount Kailash on a pilgrimage. So, students, Silk Road refers to a network of overland routes linking Europe with Asia. This had been the trade route followed by the Europeans since ancient times, who had a passion for silk, horses, camels, exotic fauna and flora of the East. It is a thread that links East and West, network of veins that pumped new lifeblood into mighty empires. The author Nick Middleton, in his travelogue, follows the footsteps of Alexander the Great and Marco Polo overland from China to the edge of Europe. Hence, it is titled as Silk Road. Now, I am giving you some details about the characters. The main characters of this article are the author. The author is a professor of geography at Oxford University and an environmental consultant. Satan is owner of the car. He is a taxi driver hired by author for the journey, as well as being a tourist guide. He had good knowledge about the roads. Next comes Daniel. Daniel is an interpreter from Lasso who travelled part of the time with the author. Norbu, he is a Tibetan working at an academy in Beijing who wants to carry out the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. Pilgrimage, journey for holy place. So Satan, he was a taxi driver. He was engaged to take the narrator to Mount Kailash. Narrator who wanted to do Kora. Kora means parikrama to Mount Kailash. The main purpose of his journey was to do Kora. And Satan, who had good knowledge about the roads, who was a taxi driver, he was engaged to take the narrator to Mount Kailash. He knew a short road that would take them southwest, almost directly towards Mount Kailash. There were many fairly high mountain passes, but Satan saw no problem if there was no snow. Next character is Lamo. Lamo, she was a Tibetan woman She was narrator's wife. She wanted to give him a farewell present. She wanted that narrator ought to get some warm clothes with him. So she gave him one of the long-sleeved sheepskin coats that all the men wore. It was warm protector. And dear students, besides this, I am telling you some terms which are used here. Drokbas. As hills started to push up one more from the arid pastures, solitary drokbas could be seen tending their flocks. They were hill tribe, well-wrapped figures. They would pause and stare at the travelers and their cars. Occasionally, they waved at the passing travelers. They lived in dark tents guarded by huge black Tibetan mastiffs. Next term I am explaining, that is Tibetan mastiffs. Tibetan mastiffs were huge black dogs. Narrator calls them shaggy monsters, blacker than the darkest night. They war furiously at anyone who approached them with their massive jaws. These ferocious dogs stood guarding the nomads' dark tents. Ferocious Tibetan mastiffs became very popular in China's imperial courts as hunting dogs. So now I am giving you summary of this lesson. In first part, departure from Rabu. The narrator, the author left Rabu along with his companions, Daniel, who was an interpreter, and Satan, who was a tourist guide and taxi driver. Before leaving, Lamo, the lady, narrator's wife, who had provided them accommodation at Rabu, gave the author a gift of a long-sleeved sheepskin coat as they were going to Mount Kailash, where it would be very cold. Satan knew a shortcut route to reach the mountain. He said the journey would be smooth if there was no snow. Next comes, in next part, description is given about Drokbas. When they started their journey, it was very exciting journey. As they passed through the hills, they saw individuals, Drokbas. It means nomad shepherds, looking after their flocks. Both men and women were seen. They were wearing thick woolen clothes, wrapped completely from head to toe. They would stop and stare at their car as they passed from there. They would stop, stare and waved to say goodbye, waving to them as they passed. Now I am explaining about mastiffs. As they passed the nomads' tents, they saw some Tibetan mastiffs. See the last stanza, second last. We refers to the narrator and his companions when they passed nomads' tents. They saw some huge black dogs. They were called Tibetan mastiffs. Tibetan mastiffs standing guard. These beasts would cook their great big heads when they become aware of the passengers' approach and fix them their sights. As the people continued to draw closer, they would fix on them and explode into action, speeding directly towards them like a bullet from a gun and nearly as fast. They are called shaggy monsters. The author has called him shaggy monsters, blacker than darkest nights, usually were bright red collars, continue bark with massive jaws. They were completely fearless, shooting straight into paths, chasing Satan and his companions. These dogs chase for 100 meters or so before easing off. Having seen the narrator and his companions, it was not difficult to understand why ferocious Tibetan mastiffs became popular in China's imperial courts. The ferocious Tibetan mastiffs became very popular in China's imperial courts as hunting dogs. They were called hunting dogs. Ferocious Tibetan mastiffs, as the people they used to take them from Silk Road in order to give them in China's imperial court as a gift. So they were called hunting dogs. Next, I am moving ahead. Satan said, if there was no snow, then it would be easy to take them. But he found ice blocked the road. The turns became sharper and more difficult as they climbed. Author started getting a severe headache. Suddenly snow started falling and soon blocked the road. Daniel and author got out of the car to reduce its load on sharp bends. The altimeter watch on the author's wrist indicated that they were at the height of 5,210 meters above sea level. Icy top layer of snow was dangerous as the car could slip off the road. When they reached a height of 5,515 meters, which was the top of the pass, atmospheric pressure became so low that Satan had to open the lid of petrol tank to release the evaporated fuel. Now, they came back on the highway. By late afternoon, they had reached the small town of Hor. Hor, it was a small town on the shore of Lake Mansarovar, which was on the old trade route between Lhasa and Kashmir. Daniel returned to Lhasa from there. Satan got the flat tire of the car repaired there. Hor was a grim, miserable place. There was no vegetation whatsoever, just dust and rocks. There was accumulated rubbish everywhere. Unlike the past, the place no longer appeared holy. By 10:30 p.m., they reached Darchen, where they found a guest house to stay in. It was the end of the road. The author had very troubled night. His nostrils were blocked and he was not able to get enough air into his lungs. Most of the night he sat up as he was unable to sleep. Next day, Satan took the author to the Darchen Medical College. The author to the Darchen Medical College, doctor told him it was just cold and altitude which were giving him trouble. Doctor gave him some medicine. That night, the author was able to sleep well. Sorry for interruption, students. Okay, now I am going to continue. So I was talking about Darchan. The Darchan Medical College was new, looked like monastery from the outside with a very solid door that led into large courtyard. Consulting room was dark and cold. According to the doctor, author suffered from bad cold because he was facing severe headache as well as effect of the high altitude. His sinuses were blocked and he was not able to sleep at night. In Darchan, author noticed that people were very relaxed, unhurried, but there was a significant drawback. There were no pilgrims in Darchan. There he met Norbu. Norbu was a Tibetan, but he was working in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in the Institute of Ethnic Literature. He had come to Darchan to do the Kora of Mount Kailash, just like the author. Norbu had been writing academic papers about the Kailash Kora. So he came for his research purpose, its importance in various works of Buddhist literature for many years, but he had actually never done it himself. Hence, he also was there to do Kora. Norbu, he was an ideal companion for the author, as both were academics who had come away from there. They had not intended to prostrate themselves all around the mountain like other pilgrims. So now, dear students, I am going to discuss few textual questions with you. First question that is given, see the second part. Brief comments on the purpose of author's journey to Mount Kailash. The author was going to Mount Kailash to complete the Kora. According to Hindu and Buddhist tradition, Kora around Mount Kailash was one of the most sacred religious rituals. Narrator, an Englishman, went there to have a first-hand experience of this great religious practice himself. See the next, author's physical condition in Darchan. So I told just now that author suffered from bad effect of altitude while he was in Darchan. He suffered from bad cold. One of his nostrils was blocked. He gasped for oxygen. He felt uneasy while lying down. He passed very difficult night. He couldn't sleep whole night. Sitting up gave him little comfort. So he was examined by a Tibetan doctor. Medicine he gave proved very effective, and the narrator had a sound sleep that night. Next, the author's meeting with Norbu. After Satan had left, narrator had no companion who could answer even his basic questions in English. So he met Norbu in a cafe in Darchan. They entered in conversation and became friends. Narrator thought that Norbu could turn out to be an ideal companion for him. After all, he knew English and was an academician on a field work there. He was a Buddhist who was there to do the Kora. Company of Norbu was much needed help and relief for the narrator. Next, Satan's support to the author during the journey. Satan, who was taxi driver, was a guide. He was a major support to the narrator during the hazardous journey to Darchan. When they left Rabu for Mount Kailash, it was Satan's complete knowledge of place and people that gave a lot of help to the narrator. Satan was very competent driver. He could drive over the snow, even the sharpest turns. He could talk in English. When he left the narrator at Darchen, he felt quite helpless, lonely. He had no one who could answer even his basic questions in English. So fortunately he met Norbu when Satan left him. And last question is given. As a Buddhist, he told me he knew it didn't really matter if I passed away, but he thought it would be bad for business. So these uncharitable remarks of Satan should be understood from the viewpoint of Buddhists. Being a devout Buddhist, Satan considered that life is full of sorrows, sufferings. Death only brings emancipation. Man gets liberated from the sorrows of the world. However, Satan was also a taxi driver. Death of a tourist on the way could be bad for his business. It could affect his business adversely. And some terms are given here. You can see meaning of the following words. Kora, I have already told you in the beginning. Kora, this is called parikrama. Perhaps means parikrama or going round Mount Kailash as a religious ritual. And Brokba refers to long-sleeved sheep-skin coat worn by men. And Kyang means wild ass. All these words are of Tibetan language. And here see some adjectives have been used here. Shaggy monsters. Shaggy monster. Shaggy hair means large and untidy hair. Brackish legs. Beautiful adjectives has been used here in this article. See the beauty of the language. Brackish means saltish. Rickety means not strong or well made, about to collapse. Rickety table. Hairpin bent. Hairpin here means very narrow and sharp bends. Rudimentary, it means elementary. So dear students, this is travelogue. The Silk Road is not single highway but a network of overland routes linking Europe with Asia, making trade possible between those with a passion for silk, horses, camels, exotic fauna and flora. Just about every transition imaginable has occurred along its many trails over the centuries. So author records the challenges, hardships he faced in the Silk Road region as they are now. Reader finds it refreshing to traverse such vast tract of the natural world. They remain largely unchanged from earlier days. I hope you can understand well. If any confusion, you can inbox me. Thank you for watching it, and keep watching each and every part of the video. Thank you once again.